We're very excited to have Padraic Boyle from MiLB Advanced Media, as well as the rest of his team, to come and tell you about how you're going to be able to watch minor league baseball like you never have in the past. So, guys, if you want to take the stage.
Good morning. We've been involved within the cloud for probably close to a decade now. Actually, we have a lot of systems up there, things we've been doing, different workflows. We've moved stuff up into the cloud directly for different options that we've been kind of working with, and it's been very a big learning curve as we've gone through. We're trying to find ways to improve our current workflows. So some of the things we're kind of looking at, as Dave was saying before, to get above that line. We right now have a sort of hybrid approach. We have a lot of stuff down on the ground within data centers, and we're also looking at more and more stuff up in the cloud. So we've been tasked with the idea of what to do with our sort of minor league systems. Over the years, we've been building things, and we'll kind of go through some of that here. But we're trying to find a way that we can sort of improve the quality of the product, get things to market quicker, some things which we know that the cloud can do for us. Just one thing here is that's one of the weirdest videos that we could find. I have no idea what they're doing. But it just sort of goes away that it's sort of like, what are we doing with the cloud? How are we kind of making these things work? And I think we've sort of tested this back in July, I guess it was, and sort of came across was, how can we improve this thing? And we said, well, we can do the cloud. We have stuff we can put up there. Let's move everything above that line. So it's really taken all of our encode, storage, and then transcoding and searching, retrieval, logging, everything, and put that up into the cloud completely. So this is our first sort of foray into sort of putting everything up into the cloud itself and working with there as far as feeding our MiLB.tv app, our storing for our archives, feeding our MiLB.com websites for our MiLB.com websites, being able to generate highlights live and everything too as we want to. So where we see things where Tebow hits a home run, we can actually flip that around pretty quickly if we need be. So let me make sure this works here. So it's Nick, you can sort of, this is Nick Nolan and Dan Clark, actually. they missed the intro. So Nick was involved with a lot of stuff with MiLB for years, and he'll speak more to how we are currently doing things.
So, does this work? This does work. Hi. So, we have been supplying the minor league streaming product since about 2010, I believe, long before me. And that was kind of right around when the majors transitioned into a full HD workflow. And so the idea being was not only can we serve the fans a streaming product, but for stuff like coaching video and all sorts of scouting processes, they want to see these guys who we really don't know. So the existing workflow was pretty much what you had available at the time. And so that was an SD encoder. And they were doing an RTMP stream to Wowza. And Wowza pretty much handled a lot of the distribution, if not all of it. And then that kind of limited what MLBAM could do with that. They would have to wait until the game was over. And then once it was over, then you could pull it down to local storage. Then you could start cutting highlights. And so everything was delayed. It was 24, 48 hours, and let's be real, there's another game every day. So it really wasn't great. It worked, but it wasn't necessarily what the fans wanted or really what anyone wanted. It just fit the bill. So we looked at this, and, well, there's a bunch of reasons why we don't want to do this. One, we're paying Wowza a bunch of money. We're dealing with local storage. We're dealing with a storage team. We're dealing with, transcode steps between distribution, between taking it down. Every highlight generated is not just a clip and a remux, it's a full transcode. So, no. Let's do this. Let's do this the right way. And what's available today? It's 2018. So with that, we found this thing.
And then the next thing I knew, it went up! It went up to the cloud!
And you can't get it down from the cloud?
Nobody understands the cloud. It's a mystery!
How to get, we have 160 ballparks, clubs, so and we're roughly about 110 ballparks that would be lighting up for the 2019 season. So the idea is how are we going to get this stuff to a place where we can actually manage it, log it, tag it, everything about it, and also be able to redistribute it to our fans. So the idea was that let's look at the cloud. And again, we've done more stuff in there the last decade. Let's see what we can put everything up into there. And we have the accessibility, we can get it from anywhere. We have the scalability, we can ramp up and down our storage, our transcode needs within there as well. And then the operational side of things where we can basically have all of our, we rebuilt Diamond to be working for the minor leagues. We have our Major League Diamond, we have Diamond on Ice for hockey, now we have MiLB Diamond for the minor leagues. So the idea is that to take everything that we can, build this whole infrastructure up in the cloud-wise so we can actually work through. It's much more cost-effective for our needs, which is one of our main goals, as well as to provide a much better quality product out to our end users. So as Nick had said before, we're doing things within SD, so the quality of the stream coming out was very small. Getting things out of the ballparks depends on the connectivity out of there. So the idea was let's find a way that we can make this into a much better quality product.
So this actually is from our SD to HD. They're simultaneously running. This isn't just downscaling and creating an example. Fly ball and
this
so
center, racing
not
back
only
on
was
this Harrison,
we had to wait 48 hours for that
slide,
first half.
Make the catch, and
This
his
took,
drops
I don't
in
know,
for a
4
base
minutes.
hit. Demerit hustles to third base. He is in there.
So how do we do it? So like I said, the pipeline is a bit difficult, but with that, maybe we can do a couple different things. So the other idea we had was we have the cloud, we have this pipe, but we also have an encoder, right? We're going to each and every part. Well, we're not, but we're deploying an encoder at each park, one of our choosing. And so that encoder has its CPU cycles, right? It's an encoder. And so the idea is if a park has sufficient bandwidth and we can use variable bit rates and all sorts of fun, could we eliminate additional transcode steps and, more importantly, our cost in the cloud? And so the model you're seeing here is in a perfect scenario where luckily a good amount of parks can do this. We can actually generate our HLS, our distribution, straight from the ballpark. We don't have to do anything downstream. And so in here, we're generating our stack, and then we're using S3. It's easy, it's fast, it scales as big or as small as we need it, and it's pretty reliable. And so we're able to distribute and create kind of our origin in S3, and then front that with a CDN. And because it's in the cloud, we have access from anywhere to later what we'll look at. And so just like that, we're generating it, and the consumers are ingesting and consuming and watching it. And we don't have to pay for anything more. So this is perfect. However, not all ballparks are perfect. We're dealing, with some interesting scenarios. So in that case, we're still going to use the cloud. We're still going to do everything we're doing, but to our origin S3, the same S3 bucket that the other parks are delivering to, or whatever you want to call your origin. And that's really important for us because we have a player team that is very good at looking for very specific bit rates, right? Our CDN team is looking for very specific bit rates. And so this approach allows us to get an HD feed with codecs that maybe aren't viable for a consumer, but allow the players, the CDNs, and everything downstream to expect the same renditions. And so that's what we're able to do. And we're only paying for that compute when we need that compute. And that's
right, it's really important because, again, it's a seasonal sport. So like right now, we don't have these things lit up. Yeah. We can turn them down, and then when season comes up, we just ramp them back up again, or even after hours, we can even do those things as well too. So it's trying to find that sort of cost savings ability, and we can do that with our cloud computing and operationalizing the cloud. So somewhere where, and you've all heard of Diamond after all the years we've been talking about this, myself and Tab Butler. So basically the idea was how do we take this stuff and pull it together and make it to work with the minor leagues? So we basically pulled together, we do scheduling, we do things around that area, so it can, Dan, you can speak to some of these.
Well, one of the big advantages of going into minor league for this is that we were able to build from scratch. So our Major League Baseball Diamond, it's a hybrid workflow. We have localized data centers, we have cloud workflows, and we sync data back and forth between them. But with MiLB, since we're building for an over-the-top product, it's new infrastructure, new asset management. We could really kind of build everything in the cloud, and it worked perfectly for us because we didn't have any need to pull it down into localized infrastructure. So through this whole build out, since it's still the same asset management system, we could take our existing code base that we've been building over 10 plus years or so and port that over to minor league. The metadata and everything contained within is still the same. It's the same sport after all. We just have different players. There's a different metadata source that we're consuming through Stats API. But the rules that we use for how we're consuming the data, we're combining it with the video, it's all the same. Since we do have this rich metadata source coming in through StatCast/Stats API, we have a semi-automated scheduling system that we can use for these 158 or so ballparks when we're fully built out. And that drastically helps us to reduce the amount of manpower that we need to actually do the scheduling. All we have to do is have a few operators watching in case there's a rain delay or a game gets postponed or a game goes into extra innings to extend encodes. But from there, someone can just come in the morning, the encodes are scheduled, they make sure they kick off, they can spot check streams, and Diamond handles all of it in the background.
I should mention, just for reference, I mean, it is baseball, so, right, we don't have time limits. It's kind of a pain. But in the minors, unlike the majors, we're dealing with about 50 to 60 games every single day. And so that, I think, should express kind of the scale of which this is being deployed.
So over 7,000 games this season.
Yeah, it's something like, yeah. And
We'll
so
have to capture
scheduling and
and
as much automation as possible and as little compute is a big, big piece of this puzzle.
And the big thing too within within Diamond, because Diamond is aggregating all of that data coming in for the ballpark. So everything you see in game day, we're bringing back in automatically. So we know the pitcher, we know the batter, we know the results, everything. So we know pitch by pitch what's coming in within there, and we tag that along with the video time coding. So we can now go back and we can do more things with that. So one of the things we have is our web logger, this is new too, is we have, this way we can actually log from anywhere. So we have the sort of web, it's cloud-based web logger. You see this is our standard panel, which we have for MLB games. So the right side is pitch by pitch column. The middle column is actually the events. This all comes in from our stringers at the ballpark. This feeds in here, and with time code. Our time code is one thing which that we can tweak the in and out points for those using our game logger, and we can also add some more information to it. So at the basic, we get this. If we have loggers, they can add more stuff to it, so it's a highlight, it's a cutaway. But we do a lot with our data already coming in here. So we actually know the pitcher, the batter. We know if it's a highlight. So if it's a home run, we auto tag highlight. We auto tag all different events within that game. So from that, we can use that to search on all games. Okay, give me all the home runs across the league, and they all come up, and we can cut those out and everything too pretty easily. And one thing too that we have is the ability to, which is again part of what Basic Diamond does, is we can go in here and search. So we can go through, pick up pitcher batter. I'm going to get more.
Yeah, the way that everything gets tagged in, Diamond keeps the source of how the person's tagged, and based on the tags that come in from home run, it can initiate different automated workflows from there. But you can then search a direct matchup between a pitcher and batter. You search for that event, and you can go click on the event, and it brings you right to it. And then, since it's all in the cloud, it's through HLS, we can rewrap the video and do a direct clip and download to your computer, and you don't need any transcode off of it. You just pull down the direct MP4 file, and you can start editing with it, or it can feed into various automated workflows that then feed into real-time highlights, things like coaching video that can then help the clubs to help foster growth through the teams.
Right, and again, because it is, I mean, up in the cloud, we're actually running a 4 meg HLS. It's pretty high quality video. Looks great on phones, on TV. Tim's here. We've actually put up on the scoreboard at several ballparks. It looks great at 4 meg. I mean, it's something which is really, so it's very portable at the same time, and it's also very high res. It's very usable. Again, we're using it for the highlights, for the .tv app. We're using it for our archive, and it sort of covers the gamut with what we need to do. As Dan was saying too, we can actually do things too. Let's say, like Tim Tebow hits a home run or does something, whatever too. The editors in Secaucus can actually search through, download it, they can put into Premiere, they can put all the stuff on there, and then they can send that back out, and it gets published out to either on TV or to our .com site or so to sort of show these highlights right away. So it's sort of very helpful that way, very fast. Again, this is all done. The games are being recorded live and things too, so people can actually do things while they're happening as well. So it sort of helps multiple sort of workflows within what we need to capture.
And in case we have a user that needs to pull something out that isn't tagged automatically through what's coming from the stringers or from the logger who's actually going through and looking at the game live, they can use the video controls that we built in to essentially do JKL editing directly within the web browser. So they can do frame in, frame out. They can jump back and forth between the streams, fast forward, and do reverse. And once they set their in and out points, they pull down the file that they want that's specific to them. If they need to do a collection of files to essentially build a simple EDL, they can do that with a panel that's to the side. So they basically do a quick cut in the cloud, and then once they have all their downloaded content, they drop it into Premiere and they can start editing.
Padraic likes to walk around the office with an iPad Pro and actually demonstrate time. I mean, it's all HTML based, so it can be done anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point too. That there's also that when you click this, there's a button right there. So it says download event. It actually cuts the video. Takes about a second and a half, 2 seconds to clip a video, and then from that you actually have an email link, which you can, or a link to email somebody, and they can open up on their phone or their tablet or their computer. So we do things actually internally for a lot of people, like Joe Torre wants to look, there's an event happening at a game, he can see it right away. There's no need to go through, get Video Bob down here to download everything, edit it, save it out to a format he can get to an email to him. It's quick turnaround time that we get these things, so much faster. To advantages, sort of the wrapping things up. So again, why we're using the cloud? I mean, no data center. We're looking at now. We're doing our sort of separation from our team that went from BAM Tech over to Disney streaming services now. So we're trying to recoup some of that technology debt and bring things back in again. So some of that was, instead of moving things over, let's rethink them. And this is one of the beginning stages of rethinking how are we doing minor leagues, how this could be more the way for the future for other workflows that we have. And it's a pretty good part to Dave's point earlier, again, moving things above that line. This is one thing that we're really taking wholeheartedly into that place. Everything again from the data center side to the quality, our workflows are all built in there, as well as our archive. Like it's basically up there. Again, it's minor leagues. We don't need to have that 50 megabit or 100 megabit file, but we can actually get away with that 4 meg. It looks fine. You can go through and search on that. The data is already tagged, and we're all ready to go from there. I think that was our thank you. And
any questions?
Any questions?
Hey, Pat.
Hey, Larry.
How do you synchronize the metadata you're getting from the ballpark with the making up for the encoding time into the cloud?
So within our weblogger, we have the ability. So we have a partner which we'll be working with. So all the game data comes in there, and the time code's off by a little bit. So what they're going to do is they're basically going to hit part of the log. It's actually pretty slick. Is you go to the first pitch, line it up with the video player, and then hit P. It actually marks the time code, jumps to the next pitch. You just play to the next one, hit pitch, and they'll go through a full game in an hour. And so all the events will then line up with that. But that's a good question because it really is. We're all over the country, and the time codes are not going to be as accurate. Within the major leagues, we have that already set. It's just this is a little more flexible.
Anybody else in the back?
What is your current estate size in terms of petabytes, and how fast are you growing?
Well, this is sort of starting. Well, we're moving over the old stuff up there too, I guess. Not sure how big our storage
the old stuff is SD, so we're not talking much. I think we're looking at what is it, 60 megs per minute,
something like that. Probably. Yeah. I mean, it's a 4 meg file, so the storage wise, it's actually pretty small.
Yeah, we're very lucky.
A full game is not as.
Yeah, it's not big. It's a couple gigs. Right now, everything literally is sitting in S3, and we'll move that to Glacier and downward. I really don't have an estimate of how big it is, but we're not dealing with the mezzanine files like the majors. we're dealing with 720/60. So in a 264, codec, it's not big at all. It's very manageable.
Anybody else? These guys will be around, right? Hopefully.
we'll bounce around.
Hang for a little bit. Not that there's anywhere for you to sit, even if you wanted to hang. But please take them aside, ask some questions one-on-one. And guys, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you
Really,
very
really
much.
appreciate it.
Thank you.